Welcome to the Car Sim and Race Driver Show, presented by Hugh Hattrick. Here at Bathurst in the Forest, my very special guest, Basic Ollie, Rascal, Rabbit, Josh Martin. It's great to have you back on the show. Drive fast and try not to crash.
Hello and good evening to everyone who's watching across the globe to the Car Sim and Race Driver Show with me, Hugh Hattrick, and my very special guest tonight. It is AMR Daniel. Welcome to the show.
Thanks ever so much, Hugh, for the warm introduction there, and for having me on your show, mate. I really appreciate you inviting me along, and I hope you're doing very well today, my friend.
Oh, I'm very well indeed, and it's great to have you as a guest on the show. Now, for those of you who may not have heard of AMR Daniel, he's got a decent channel with almost double of what I have here on my channel in terms of subscribers, and a fantastic community as well that follows him and takes part in his races. But the question that we always have for our guests is, how did you get started in sim racing?
How did I get started? Well, just trying to remember back, actually. Obviously, your interest in sim racing begins with, like, real-world motorsports, I suppose. I think that's how it sort of transitions very easily. If you love real-world motorsport, then sim racing just follows soon afterwards. But I think for me, my sim racing adventure didn't start really properly until I was in my early teens, so quite late for me, because I started on the games consoles, but the first one that I ever had really was the Sega Master System 2. But I don't really remember a lot of racing games that I had for that, because it was mainly platformers that I played on that. So my recollection of any racing games on the Sega Master System are very, very limited indeed. But now I can always remember, obviously, you know, when you're a kid, very, very excited at Christmas. 1999, I remember it was, you know, waking up that morning, charging downstairs and getting round by the tree. And then the more or less sort of the first present that I unwrapped, to my surprise, my family actually got me a new console at the time, which was a PlayStation 1.
Fantastic.
Good old PlayStation 1, indeed. And then I think I had a few games with that, but the ones that definitely stick out in my mind were the very first ones that I played on the console was obviously Gran Turismo. I mean, it wouldn't be right if we all didn't start with Gran Turismo with sim racing. And I think the other ones I had was V Rally and also Colin McRae Rally. Yeah. So I think for me, for my interest in all form of motorsports, that was really ideal for me to have all three of those titles. And I think since then, really, it's just sort of progressed further and further. And I mean, the last couple of years in particular, I've started venturing onto the PC, which I've been thoroughly enjoying so far. But that's more or less where that Christmas 1999 was more or less where my venture into sim racing first started, and I've loved it ever since then.
So did you play things like Colin McRae Rally as well?
I did. Yes, absolutely. Particularly on the PS1, I had the first two Colin McRae's in particular, and I used to play that religiously because obviously one of my heroes growing up was the late great Colin McRae. So, you know, I was a really big fan of his and of his racing titles. Of course, nothing could get close to it at the time. Yeah. So, you know, you can imagine you just going through the various stages, and Wales in particular on in the games, in Ivory's Ford Focus or Subaru Impreza in particular. So, yeah, I used to play rally games a lot and still do, actually, to this day. Although I haven't, although one game just sticks out more than others lately, I haven't really ventured into the WRC franchise. But Dirt Rally, I still play that a lot in a lot of my streams these days, which people seem to love.
A lot, because it's incredibly realistic. I think that when you see people with these big screen setups and they're rallying, you know, doing these incredible speeds, and I don't have a handbrake sorted out, so I struggle with that. I know you can put on a button and things like that to make it work, but it doesn't always come up. So when you guys do it and you can fly I think I saw you doing one. What was it, a week or two ago? It was it the it wasn't the Albanian rally. It was that one. Was it the Greek rally or something? You're way up in the hills, and it was just rocks everywhere, and you were hearing through it without touching anything. Which I thought that was amazing. Because there's no way I could do that. I'd be crawling around. I think I'd done that same stage, and I was about 2 minutes slower than you. So it was quite a thing. But yeah, so we've got our first question of the night from Rumar. And so everyone who's watching in the chat, a big welcome again, and make sure you've got your questions ready and we can put them to Daniel. But Ru is asking, what are the main differences between your driving style and approach between Gran Turismo and the rally sims?
Oh, that's a good question indeed. It's not something I've really thought of before. Thank you, Ruben, for the question first and foremost. But I think the style of driving is very different in circuit racing compared to rallying, because circuit racing, no matter what title you play, whether it be Gran Turismo or Assetto Corsa or Forza Motorsport, whatever it may be, you have to have a more smooth driving approach, because you can't afford for the car to slide around too much because it loses you time around the circuit. So if you have a smoother driving style, you can definitely carry a lot of speed through the corners and carry that momentum on the around the circuit itself. Whereas rallying is completely different indeed. You have to be sort of aggressive, really, more or less, because you need very quick reactions when it comes to those transitioning from one corner to another on a rally stage in particular. So you have to be really, really quick on the wheel and on the gear shifter as well, changing gear constantly, which I don't get right all the time. I mean, my viewers could definitely recall the amount of gear crunching changes I do in rallying. It doesn't always go smoothly, but yeah, the contrasting styles are very, very different indeed, and sometimes it's very difficult to go from one to another. But both, I seem to do all right, although my rally streams tend to do well, because it's more like sort of crash bang wallop, really, with regarding to that. So it either goes well or spectacularly badly. Or as I say as well, because of my hero, Colin McRae, I'm like the early iteration of him. So I'm like the modern day Colin McCrash, for example. So I can't seem to break my bad jinx in Dirt Rally. But no, that was certainly a good question indeed. Thank you for that. And yeah, it definitely does require two different styles in the various titles that you play indeed, and two different disciplines.
We used to do a Colin McRae rally, and I think it was the Swedish rally.
Yeah,
and my good friend Jonathan would be his house playing it on the console, and then he would. I went away one time. I was getting a drink, and he set up my goal. And of course, he was instead of putting me on the proper snow tires, or the tires appropriate for the Swedish rally in the snow, he put me on slicks.
Oh no!
So I'm ready to have my goal, and I still beat him.
I bet he felt cheerful after you crossed the stage finish line when I found out you beat him.
Yeah, he was not chuffed about that. But he's up till about 3 a.m. trying to beat my brand hatch times. So I always have a go at him with that when it's on GT Sport. But no, it's great. The rivalry that you can have is great fun. So how do you find the difference between the GT Sport rally kind of versions and then also things like Dirt Rally? Because there's quite a different dynamic to them.
Yeah, there is indeed. I mean, just the driving physics are very, very different indeed. And I think, if I'm honest, Dirt Rally isn't perfect either. I mean, the gravel handling is absolutely brilliant in Dirt Rally, but the tarmac physics aren't that great. It's just basically like the gravel physics with the grip turned up. So it still has a tendency to unnaturally slide around a lot on tarmac. So, but in terms of physics themselves, it's obviously because of Gran Turismo Sport in particular, it's more a sort of because it's a game for the masses, as it were. So it's more sort of simcade, a sort of balance between sim handling and arcade handling. So it's the sensation and the realism that you get in GT Sport isn't quite the same as something as you get in a proper dedicated rally sim like Dirt Rally. But I mean, it doesn't mean to say that it's not still as enjoyable. I mean, you can still have enormous fun either way, whichever whichever is your preferred title, preferred sim, absolutely. But obviously, yeah, you can feel the difference between one or the other, absolutely.
Yeah. I have to say, looking at your equipment and your setup there, it looks rather nice. I've got the basic kind of T29 here and the Playseat Challenge. But tell us, what is your setup there?
Well, my setup, well, in terms of the frame itself, I have the GT Omega Racing Titan cockpit itself. This is the GT Omega Racing RS9 seat that I'm comfortably sitting on just now. I mean, normally racing seats are not that comfy, but this one's actually rather nice. Actually, it gives you good support as well. But my rims, I actually have two of them. The one that's attached on now is the first iteration of the Fanatec McLaren GT3 wheel. Yeah, I'll be honest, it's not a wheel, which I didn't think Fanatec would bring back. Now I'm envious of the new one, and some folks have got it. I want the new one. You always want the new versions of something, don't you? But I've also got a WRC, a CSL WRC rim as well when I drive in rallies and drive classic cars, in particular in Assetto Corsa, for example. Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, in my early day, in fact, I haven't owned my rally rim for that long, actually. When I used to play Dirt Rally, it used to be just on my McLaren GT3 rim.
All right.
So you can imagine how much of a challenge that was to try and get through a stage in Wales with half a wheel.
Yeah, trying to do lock, isn't it? That's the other thing. You've got to be, it's kind of crazy.
That's it, yeah. I mean, you're trying to turn, catch a slide, and then you want to, try and grab this section of the wheel, and you find there's nothing there. No! And then you wind up getting into a tree as a result, unfortunately. But the wheelbase itself, it's the CSL Elite wheelbase that I have. I mean, I'm very tempted, depending on what the reviews are like. I might be tempted by, I'm sure you've seen it, the new CSL DD rim.
All right, yeah.
As well. Yeah. So it's like sort of the most basic of their direct drive wheels. Whereas the CSL Elite is belt driven. So it's not necessarily the torque difference. That's a real game changer. It's basically how it gives you that feeling through the wheel and the instant feedback as well. Very, very different. But I might be tempted by that at some stage in the future. And in front of me just now, the last part of my equipment is another purchase from earlier this year, which is my Track Racer monitor stand. In my sort of earlier days of streaming, I used to have my monitor mounted on an old television stand unit. So when it was difficult at times, because when I tried to do rally streams, for example, and I had the rally rim on, I used to actually try and duck my head over the wheel to see what I was doing, where I was going. So that's basically my sim racing equipment too, all in one. So
it looks absolutely brilliant. And we've got lots of people now into the chat. So I was saying, get your questions ready. We've even got Podium, who was our special guest on last week. And also to let everybody know that in a week's time, it is Z28 Gaming, all the way from America. So he'll be coming on next week at 9 o'clock. But nice. Tell me, Daniel, what is your favourite combinations for? I know you play a lot of ACC and games like that, and Assetto Corsa. What do you find is your favourite combination?
Oh, that's a difficult question. That's a difficult one. I've got so many in my mind already, but I think in terms of ACC, I think my favourite combination, obviously, so the clue's sort of in the title of, in the name of my YouTube channel, but I love driving the Aston Martin V8 Vantage GT3 in ACC, and I think the circuit which I'd love to wring the neck out of it is around Silverstone. It's a circuit that I've got fond memories of, both virtual and in the real world, obviously. And I love driving around there in particular. It's probably one of my favourite circuits in ACC. But in terms of other tiles, Dirt Rally, I think it's hard to know. I mean, I enjoy the Welsh Rally in Dirt Rally, but I think in terms of car, no matter what event it is, I've watching it as a kid and learning all about the car as well. I obviously competed in the real world before I was even born. at all. But one of my favourite rally cars of all time is the Mark II Ford Escort RS 1800. Just the star names that you had driving the car in the period. So you had people like Ari Vatanen, Bjorn Vardegaard, Hannu Mikkola, of course, Roger Clark, another one of our great British rally drivers as well. The only guy at the time who could take it to the mighty Finns in the rally scene, good old Roger Clark. So, but in terms of Assetto Corsa, it's hard to tell, to be honest, because it depending on the mood, really. I mean, there's all kinds of mods I love driving. The single-seater racing studio mods, the Formula Hybrids, they're terrifically good indeed. I mean, we was talking about Assetto Corsa here. You definitely got to try those at some point.
Yeah, and you're going to have to get into the mods. Definitely.
Yeah.
Because there's so much to do. I mean, I was driving this on the standard Assetto Corsa game the other night, the Ferrari 599 FXX.
Yeah.
And they were phenomenal. I had so much fun at Brands Hatch. But I want to get into more single-seaters and games like that, or the mods for that. I think that would be great fun. And of course, because we've got our league coming up as well, which has been organised in association with Rascal Rabbit. He's done a phenomenal job. So that's coming up very soon. And it's all front drive cars. We've got a number of options there, and it's going to be some great circuits, once a month, normally probably towards the end of the month, from the end of July. And it's going to be the HHTCR Touring Car League, so it's going to be fun. So that'll be coming up. But I think that's the great thing about these games at the moment. The range of cars and combinations and tracks is fantastic. But you do a lot of Assetto Corsa competition as well, and also the GT3 Aston Martin. What's been your best results that you've been able to do?
My best results, I'd say in terms of the long major races, my results haven't been that spectacular, really. But there's a kind of reason for that, to be honest with you, with our community in particular. Because one thing I'd like to try and provide is to give people the opportunity to take part in major races, no matter your skill level. Because let's face facts, really. When it comes to certain races, the big major enduros, unless you're part of like an elite esports team, you haven't really got much chance in taking part in such events. So I'd like to try and provide people with ways of taking part in enduro. So in terms of those, because I've teamed up with quite a few of our members already. I mean, just this year alone, we participated in the 6 hours of Silverstone with RWB International and RCI as well, the 8 hours of Monza. So I think we finished just inside the top 20 around Silverstone, and then 22nd around Monza. But to be honest, in a way, I mean, it's difficult to explain because people have different approaches when it comes to sim racing itself. They either, want to try and practice for hours at a time every day just to get faster and faster. But I take a more relaxed approach, to be honest, and try and enjoy all the races that I take part in. And if I'm able to do that and also, provide people with that wonderful opportunity as well of doing these races and not having any stress at all and enjoying themselves, and to me that just gives me a great satisfaction indeed, knowing that we've managed to not only provide opportunities for people to work together but also take part in these big races as well, and that's something which I hope to do with our community in the future as well, with our little Discord clan.
It's great. Now I don't have your Discord thing. You'll need to email that, and I'll update the YouTube thing. But I will have I know I've got your YouTube channel underneath. So anyone who's not already subbed to Daniel's channel, the link should be in the description below, and you can click on that and give him an extra sub. I know that Darren Turner had subbed because he commented earlier.
He did indeed,
which is great. So it's a fantastic channel, and I think as well what you're saying is very true of the sim racing community. Is that it's good to have a chance to get into these big races and simply drive up to your ability. at the end.
Yeah.
And if that means that you can take part in some big events, and actually, if there's 60 people in a race, but some of these races have vast numbers of people taking part. To actually finish 22nd is not bad if you're not a full-time professional. I mean, it's not everybody can be like David Perel. I know he's a lot can race all the time, and I've got that kind of done it so much, and obviously they're professional drivers. So this is the great thing about sim racing. Everybody can have a go, and they can learn. They can get better. They can get setups. They can get tuition if they want to, and it makes a big difference. But so you were saying that Silverstone meant an awful lot to you. Have you watched races from there live as well?
Well, I've only been to one event in my lifetime, and that was actually around Silverstone back in 2013. It was to go and see the World Endurance Championship. The first event. It was I used to be part of another sim racing community called Tora, the Online Racing Association at the time, and some of us had planned and organized to go to the event itself, and I managed to stay for the entire 3-day duration of the race, and it was just an utterly magical and wonderful experience that weekend. I mean, the atmosphere was absolutely electric, and everyone was just really friendly as well. I can remember when I went there, being a newbie to a racing venue, I had these security guards walking around the circuit, and one of them stopped up and approached to me and said, whether I needed any help at all, because I had a load of camping equipment with me, and they actually organised someone in a minibus to pick me up and go and take me to this camping site where I was staying the entire duration. So, but now I managed to have a really good time around there. Managed to beat some drivers as well, and got Darren Turner's signature as well, Aston Martin racing driver. So, but. No, it was just an utterly wonderful weekend, and that's why it holds such strong memories for me, Hugh, to be honest. For that reason, and also for some of the other opportunities in sim racing that I've done as well around that venue as well, which is why I love it so much.
Excellent. Well, I'll quickly read out some of the quick fire questions from our chat. Now, Andy, the lab, says, what do you prefer, sprint or endurance races in a Assetto Corsa competition?
Oh. First of all, hello, Deb. Very nice to see you. That's Andy the Lab, by the way. Deb, she's my actual teammate from this More Female Racers Championship that we're both contesting together, which is really cool. So it's awesome to see you, Deb. To be honest with you, I'm not really picky when it comes to that. I mean, I enjoy both sprint races and also enduros. I mean, endurance races is more exciting in a way because with the events being such a long length, you just don't know exactly what's going to happen throughout the entire duration. Something strange or weird could happen to one of your competitors, which could mean that you could be elevated further up into the field. Indeed. So, I mean, both have a real element to them, which I enjoy very much. I mean, the sprint races can, where everyone's literally driving hard as fast as they can for like 20 to 30 minutes and seeing how they do against each other. But no, I really like both, to be honest. I enjoy both type of disciplines a lot, sprint races and enduros.
And another quick question there. What are your top 3 car choices in a Assetto Corsa competition, and why?
Oh, top 3 choices. Well, straight at the top, right at the very top, is the Aston Martin Vantage GT3. No debate with regard into that. I'm very predictable, aren't I, with regard to that? I think second choice, surprisingly, I really enjoy. I mean, I'm not very good in it, but I enjoy driving the McLaren 720S GT3 a lot. As well, that's another really good car, and it certainly ran certain venues as well. I know it's very quick around Silverstone, is the McLaren 720S, but I think I must say, because of this current championship that myself and Andy the Lab are doing at the moment, I'm really thoroughly enjoying the Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo car. I thought when we started, because it was announced for this season that we would all be contesting the championship in that car, and I thought, oh no, literally, I'm gonna dread driving this. I'm not gonna get the hang of it at all. My fortune with mid-engine cars is a bit mixed sometimes, but no, I thoroughly enjoyed driving with the Lambo ST in this current season, and I've had many great battles, especially against some people of my similar skill level in the championship, in the sort of pro-am class that we're in at the moment. I think the last event round Spa was magical indeed. I enjoyed that one a lot. So those would be I think those would be my top 3 choices. So the Aston on top, McLaren second, and Lambo ST in third.
Yeah, that's the thing. Now we have another Darren Turner here in the chat,
hey.
But I'm not sure if Darren Turner is the one that you got the autograph from. At first I thought, oh, you got Darren's autograph. It'd be funny. Yeah,
that would be quite something.
And we've also got Thea in the chat as well, and lots of people are joining all the time, which is fantastic. So here we are. We've got a question from Darren. What do you dislike the most about sim racing?
What do I dislike most? I didn't really think about that, to be honest, because I don't know. It's hard because I thoroughly enjoy what I do with regarding to sim racing. So whether it's the actual driving or the community aspect of it, trying to run our community and organize events and with the content as well. So I can't really think of a single bad thing. I mean, obviously, when I crash a lot in Dirt Rally, but that's just down to my skill sometimes. But no, I can't really think of anything that I dislike about sim racing. I treasure every moment that I have and thoroughly enjoy. Because let's face it, it's not every day, is it? We get the chance to drive some of our dream cars in the real world, when we can all do it together in the sim, which is absolutely the wonderful thing about what we do. So now I thank you for asking anyway, Mr. Darren Turner, and thank you for subscribing as well to my channel. I really appreciate you doing that, mate, for doing that. But now I can't really think of a bad thing, to be honest, with what we do in sim racing.
Oh, that's good. There been some very good answers to that. As soon as that question was asked by Darren, we had Mike Rogers Racing, and he said, easy answer, Gran Turismo. So I think it's slightly better than it was. It was pretty horrendous for a wee while with the penalties, but it can be kind of a give or take as to what can happen. But I know that is the thing. Now we've also had what was the thing? I'm just looking at a question on everyone is desperate to know where your accent is from. They're trying to work out where you're from.
Oh, where my accent is from. Well, if you're wondering, because you'd be surprised the amount of people have turned around and asked me, oh, are you from Birmingham in the UK? No, I'm not. I'm actually, because apparently our accents are very, very similar, which they're not, by the way, far from it. Now, I was originally born and raised in the city of Wolverhampton in the United Kingdom. So that's where I'm originally from, not Birmingham. So hopefully that one's still clear. Mind you, it still won't stop anyone from going, oh, you're Brummie. No.
Yes,
I'm not, so.
There were even people checking on your Twitter feed to see where it was coming from. So they were that keen. They were trying to find out where you're from. We've got another good question here from Darren. It says, what are your thoughts on Gran Turismo 7 coming to the PS4 or PS5, I think, isn't it?
Oh, okay. Well, if I'm honest, it's been quite a while since I followed the Gran Turismo franchise. I mean, even the last one that I played was Gran Turismo 4, way back in the mid-2000s. So, but it'd be interesting to see anyway the direction of which where Gran Turismo goes. Indeed, I mean, just the amount of time you folks have had to wait, in particular from GT Sport to now. I know that they do take their time, don't they, to create each and every Gran Turismo title. But no, I'm sure that once it's all been created and released, I'm sure it'll all definitely be worth it in the end. It was the racing game really that started me off in sim racing. I still have a strong fondness for it, even though I haven't played it for a very, very long time indeed. So no, I'm sure it'll be great, no doubt, and hopefully some lessons will be learned from GT Sport. I mean, I don't know what your experiences of it, Hugh, as a game, as a whole, GT Sport, and what it's like. But I'm sure that you're really excited, aren't you, for the next instalment of Gran Turismo?
Yes, I mean, I have to say that because I've had a PlayStation 1, 2, 3, and 4. I haven't yet got the 5, but I thought I'm going to wait because at the moment you just can't get them anyway. So there's no point trying to source them when they're not really available. But when Gran Turismo comes, hopefully by that time there'll be a lot more stock. But yeah, I love the game. I have to admit, I think, and I didn't always play multiplayer. It was only really till the current GT Sport that I really started to play multiplayer. Because it's kind of, you're used to doing the career, and then all of a sudden this comes up, and I was kind of wary. I thought, I don't know if I want to do that. I'd done a little bit of multiplayer on F1, those games, but never on the GT Sport. But as soon as I did it, you couldn't get me off it. That was it. I was completely hooked. And it's kind of gone on from there, really. So I think the new one, the graphics, I'm sure will get better, and it will just be more options. But I have to say, I'm not too bothered now. I don't miss the career side of it. I just quite like the GT Sports side, the kind of the multiplayer. And I kind of wonder. I mean, I know some people will hark back to that, but I don't know if it's maybe going to be as popular now as it maybe would have been. Because now multiplayer, because you want to race against other real drivers. But how do you think? What do you think about that?
No, I think it's. I think it'll be a great, a more sensible direction to go in. Obviously, to try and concentrate in multiplayer, because obviously, with the technology that we have now and how it's advancing enormously, and how, particularly how sim racing has picked up. In particular, especially in the last couple of years, because the situation that we're in with the world right now, it would definitely make sense to focus more on the online aspect of it, because the single player element doesn't really work anymore. Because there's quite a few titles that I can think of which work better as a multiplayer title. That are more fun and enjoyable rather than single player, for example. So I have definitely no arguments or quibbles with that. Absolutely. And it's broadened a lot of opportunities as well for a lot of people and organizations in particular to host more of these online series, events, races, or championships, just as a great way, a great means of bringing people together. Absolutely. So from that side of things, I've definitely got no issues with that whatsoever. So it would make sense, definitely in this day and age, that that games would focus more on the online side of things rather than the single player aspect of them. I was just thinking that I've asked a question in the chat and if people agree that I think Assetto Corsa competition is probably one of the exceptions of the case, that their single player mode is actually very good if you want to try and learn the tracks and get your track medals, because people said, right, once you've started playing it, you'll get your medals if you start doing the single player races, but obviously racing against the AI. And actually, when you put it up really high up, they are blooming horrid to drive against. They are so aggressive. They'll go for you at every corner. Absolutely, but no, I suppose that's the only exception, really, and it does make a lot of sense too, because obviously you want players to be as responsible as possible when competing online against others. So, that's one of the great things about ACC is that you're forced literally to start in the single player mode and earn the track medals that you need before you're allowed then to go and race online with either public servers or in community events or leagues in particular. So I suppose from that side of things, that's definitely the exception, really. But I think more sort of, more casual, laid back games, I think another exception as well, really. For something like Wreckfest, for example, it's a bit boring when you do it on your own. Single player. But multiplayer is completely different again. It's just something more. For my community in particular, it's just nothing more satisfying for them than to smash me to pieces. When do you get the opportunity to do that?
Well, it's quite funny because I made a mistake and I said single player and I really meant the AI. So when you're playing against the AI,
I get you.
But as soon as I said that, Mike Rogers Racing said it's better than GTs, that's for sure. Because that's true. The single player racing on the AI, they're always quite easy to overtake once you kind of get used to what it was. But it is quite fun. But so what would you say are your kind of tips for getting faster times and being more competitive on the likes of a Assetto Corsa competition?
Well, I think it's just mainly about persistence. It's when you're trying to gain speed in sim racing, it's not going to take 5 minutes. It will take many hours and days, or even weeks sometimes. If you want to learn either the handling for the game to get used to it, or to get used to driving a specific car in ACC, for example. So people always say to me what the best first car is to use for ACC to learn, particularly if you're new to sim racing as well. I always say GT4 is the best way to start off with, because you're driving something much slower, but they've got more mechanical grip, so you can learn then about car control, how it behaves, and how to correct it if something goes awry. Whilst you're going around the circuit. So, but now I think that the main tips really for getting fast, wanted to learn to drive and to get faster, is just to be patient and be persistent with it. Never ever give up at all. If it doesn't go well, that so be. Sometimes it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't always. Sometimes for me, if it's any consolation, even with all the years of experience that I have of sim racing, it doesn't always go accordingly. But just know as well, it's absolutely okay. It's perfectly fine to make mistakes as well. You could either always learn, or the great thing is with sim racing is to try again. You get the opportunity to try again next time. So it's not the end of the world. There's plenty of opportunities for you to go and try again and to get faster and faster and improve. Yeah. Absolutely.
Now we've got a good question here from Andy the Lab. Your track guides have helped lots of racers. What goes on behind the scenes to make one?
A lot, if it's any consolation. But the whole process of doing the lap guides is obviously you've got to drive around the circuit to get used to that, and then when you've finally adapted to a certain track and circuit, you've got to drive around again, but record the footage of the fastest lap that you try and attempt to do as part of the track guide, which is not easy to do. One thing I'll admit, I'm not perfect at hot lapping. I've never ever been good at doing that at all. But once that's done, once the recording's finished, you save the replay then in ACC, and then you go back and you take various screenshots of, because what I like to do with my track guides is I like to show each of the braking zones and point out any indicators or markers of where you need to brake and what the best line is to take for each corner as well. So, for example, in certain braking zones, you might have to do a bit of trail braking, which means, for example, if you're going through a left-handed corner, you might need to drift the car slightly over to the left. So I like to try and do that. And then once I've got all the screenshots sorted and various different clips that I put in there as well, as part of the intro in particular, it's all then just gets stitched together more or less and edited immensely in Adobe Premiere Pro, which is the software that I use. Actually, no, sorry. Just before that, I then go and do the audio. That's right. It wouldn't be right. No track guide and no audio throughout. So after that, I take a bit of time to write a script as such for particularly for the intro and the braking markers, and then the onboard lap for me is always the worst to try and record, because I look at the footage of the car driving around the circuit whilst trying to record audio at the same time. I can remember when I did Laguna Seca track guide, the circuit's that short and the corners come up very, very quickly. I was literally panting for breath at the end, just trying to get my breath back, and my head was getting lightheaded as well. The amount of times that I tried to do that as well. And then finally, when all the audio's done, it's just literally a case of putting it all together in Premiere Pro, upload it to YouTube, and there it is for the whole world to see, as it were. So, but there is actually quite a bit. You'd be very surprised just what goes into a track guide and how much time it takes to put it all, to process it and put it all together. So, but now the the amount of effort that goes into it is definitely worth it. Absolutely, the amount of people that it's helped as well, as part of the coaching that I do sometimes in ACC. It's really great to see. It's just a pain though, the amount of time that it takes. It's just a pain.
Yeah,
but it's all worth it.
Now, we've had some people in the comments saying that I cannot pronounce the game properly. The Assetto Corsa Competizione.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
is that it? Did I sound like a bit like Franglais? Did I say Assetto Corsa? Assetto Corsa.
No. I thought I didn't want to say anything, but I noticed. I mean, particularly in the preview video, you pronounced it as competition instead of competizione.
I was good at Franglais in the old days, and yeah, I'm a big Italian car fan, big Fiat fan, but I don't know. I forgot there's a Z in there somewhere. And you see, but there we go. I think I said it reasonably for you. So let's get these
probably
questions.
Much better than how I can pronounce it, mate. Don't you worry.
So there we go. So what are your big plans for the rest of the year in terms of league racing and things how can people get involved in your community races and things like that?
Well, in terms of league racing, I haven't really thought about that too much, to be honest, because I think the most important priority at the moment is to try and grow our Discord community further and further. I mean, I'm really fortunate now. I mean, since I started our community back in October of last year, we've got, in fact, just before we started the live stream, in fact, we've up to 117 members now in our wonderful Discord, which I'm really, really proud and chuffed to bits with. I didn't think I'd get that many at the start. So I think the idea for the rest of the year is to try and grow our community further so I can host more events within our Discord community, because I did have a lot of plans at the start of the year, but it just hasn't materialized for various reasons. So I'd love to be able to do that again and start off slowly but surely. But it's all right. My cat just literally trod on my keyboard. Frightened me to death.
It's a live show. You never know what's going to happen.
You never know. Absolutely. That's the beauty of these things. But that's actually a perfect metaphor, because nothing ever literally goes right in my stream, Hugh. Something always goes awry. I've brought the bad jinx to your stream. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. Now,
but, sorry, go on, mate.
There's been rumours that there's going to be a new launch very soon of Assetto Corsa 2. Now, do you have any idea of what that might be like or what's been coming? Because I know there's been a few videos out about it.
Oh, yeah, potentially. I mean, the last time I heard the rumours, it might be 2024, perhaps. But this was like a few days ago when I last checked up about it. But if it does turn out to be a second iteration of Assetto Corsa, that would be absolutely amazing. A long time coming, to be honest, because I think the original one's been out for 7 years or so.
Yeah, it's been a long time. It was 2012 or 2013 even.
Yeah, something like that. So it has been out for a while. So it's about time, to be honest, that we had a newer version of it. And I'm sure that everyone's literally bracing at home, just the amount of fun you can have. I mean, we have a tremendous time already with the original Assetto Corsa, not only because of, the brilliant original content that we get with the game, but also just the hundreds and literally thousands of mods that we get for the game that just has expanded the life of it even further. I mean, even nowadays, we're still getting mods for the game, which is absolutely surprising, really surprising. But no, if it does turn out to be AC2, bring it on. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, isn't it? And there's also rumours that there's a new British touring car game coming out as well, which could mean we could have real touring cars from the 90s, all the epic seasons from Cosworths in the 80s to Cavaliers in the 90s. And all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
That would be brilliant. I was really, and all the great kind of tracks that they raced against as well, because you can't get Knock Hill, or very few places have Knock Hill on it, isn't it? Maybe I'm sure there's a mod probably for Assetto Corsa. But I think
there is for Assetto Corsa, yeah. But I think, as far as I know, the only game really that features Knock Hill is Project Cars 2.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the only title that I can think of. But otherwise, I think there is a mod for Knockhill and AC, which I haven't really scoped upon yet. But yeah, I think with the British Touring Car game, that would be another amazing one to have, because that's another one that I used to the Toka Touring Car Championship game back on PlayStation 1.
Oh, fantastic! They were so good.
Enormously.
They were brilliant.
The Super Touring era in particular was my favourite time of the BTCC as a kid. Absolutely.
The best one, it was Toka Touring Cars 2, and you could have all the different championships. And they had single seaters, they had Formula Fords, and they were great races. Well, I sent somebody catapulting end over end into the wall at Beckett's on the first corner, the Cops corner. And honestly, they had so many bugs, brilliant bugs in that game. And I managed to keep going. And the next time I came round, I kid you not, the guy was standing outside his car waving at me because I had taken them out. I couldn't believe it. So they must have had some amazing bugs and great fun making that game. But now we've got a great question from Damo. He says, how much time do you spend a day or in a week driving online?
Online, not as much as you might think, actually. But I mean, if we're taking part in endurance races, obviously that's very different. The amount of practice and time involved in that. But I mean, particularly in the last few weeks, because of the current championship that myself and Andy the Lab are doing together at the moment, I'd say at most, I think this would be like 3 hours a day, just practicing and making sure that the car is all set up and ready, prepared, more or less. Especially for my teammate Deb, who unfortunately doesn't have enough time to practice during the week. So, you know, I want to try and, you know, make sure that we're best prepared for each race. So I spend roughly that time, but honestly, not as much as you might think, Hugh, in terms of practicing. I know that particularly esports competitors can spend many hours. I mean, some can spend up to 8 hours a day practicing, more or less. I couldn't do that.
Yeah, they must be unemployed or having a lot of time to be able to do that. Because most of us can hardly fit that one in. You've got family and a job to do as well.
No, absolutely.
There you have it. Now, there's been a big question. They keep saying, "Look out for the questions. They're coming in capitals, so I can notice them." It is from Darren. What is your favourite track on a racing game?
My favourite track on a racing game. I mean, as much as I love Silverstone, it pains me to say this, but I think in terms of satisfaction and enjoyment, there's actually two that I think are joint first on my favourite circuits of all time, which is the Circuit de la Sarthe, Le Mans. I love driving that a lot, and also the Nürburgring Nordschleife as well. I mean, if you want the ultimate driving test, you can't really beat the Nord. Well, maybe the Targa Florio, perhaps, if you've driven that mod in AC, if you're mad enough to remember all 72 kilometers of that one, which I don't. But no, the Nordschleife is sort of a mini version of the Targa Florio. There we go. With regarding to that. But now I think the Nordschleife and Le Mans are definitely up there of my favourite circuits to drive.
They're probably the two hardest circuits to drive, just about, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So long. Now, Podium has asked an interesting question, and it's probably one that I think will resonate with quite a few people. And they say, how can you have your rig set up so close to a wall? Now, I don't know about you, but when I quite like being next to a wall. It gives me a certain sense of security. I don't know what it is, but when I'm kind of here and my monitors all in line, having them all there, actually, I don't mind. It makes me feel that I'm spatially aware. But how about you? Because obviously you've got it right next to the wall. How does that? What was the reason for doing that one, or was it just a matter of that was the only place you could put it?
Well, the answer to that is just a relatively simple one. It's the lack of space that I have in here with the sim rig setup. I mean, I can literally just stretch to the wall over here and touch it, and my bed's literally just to that side there. It's just basically just the lack of space that I have. I mean, I would love to have my own dedicated room where I could have the sim rig, or like a certain other YouTuber used to have, a Mr. Broadbent. If we had our own sim racing shed as well, I think that would be the ideal setup, wouldn't it? But no, I think the simple answer is it's just lack of space. I just try and utilize the space as best I can really.
Yeah.
And I can't really. I mean, if I had the equipment literally right next to the wall, I couldn't afford to do that because the walls are that thin. Just like a slight movement, I'd be like through the plaster work, more or less. It's that fragile. But
yeah. Well, when I first moved into this house and I was streaming from this room, people said, "Oh, is that soundproofing?" And I wish I could have said, "Oh yes, I've got my room soundproofed and all sorted out." But no, this is just bad wallpaper from the 70s. So it was the only thing.
Tasteful paper, Hugh. Tasteful.
No, it's not tasteful. Trust me. And the rest of the house is pine. So yeah, we've got a lot of work to do to get it all sorted out. But no, it is quite funny. Now we have a question here as well from Podium. He says, "Do you even notice the wall at all, or not, or is it just because sometimes that can maybe have an effect because you're next to a window and a wall?"
Mm-hmm. Well, when I'm streaming, no, I don't really think about that at all. But it's only before or afterwards when I finish, I start to, think how claustrophobic it can be sometimes with the walls being so close. But no, it's not. But even whilst we're here just now, I don't really think about that at all. Yeah. It's just something you put in the back of your mind. Whilst you're in the sim, just trying to focus solely on doing the proper job, hopefully. with the streaming. So, but no, I don't really think about it, to be honest.
Yeah, and I was going to say, what got you into actual streaming? And did you have any particular kind of heroes in the YouTube world of streaming or Twitch and things like that? Did you have anyone that you followed that kind of got you excited and decided, right, I'm going to have a go at that?
Well, that's a good question, actually, Hugh, because for a while, I mean, with the previous organisation that I used to do events with, Tora, I stopped that in 2016 because, unfortunately, I was going through a real bad period with my mental health, with anxiety and depression. And I had actually stopped sim racing for like 2.5, 3 years because as a result of which. But the reason why I decided to come back and go into content creating was it was by accident, really, because I was just flicking through some random videos on YouTube one day, not really having much to do at all. And I actually came across Jimmy Broadbent's channel. So I watched his content and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And of course, I learned as well that unfortunately, he was another person who also suffered with mental health issues. And I think looking back then and how much he's progressed now with his channel, it's just, I found it really inspiring, to be honest, that somebody like Jimmy, who also, suffers mental health issues like me, could venture into sim racing, into content creating, and build up a brilliant audience together and completely change his life around. And it sort of gave me the idea, the inspiration that, if he could do it, so could I, in particular. Yeah. So it was, I think it was the end of 2018. I decided desperately to try and save up as much money as I could. And so I could gather all the pieces I needed to build my own PC, which I'd never done before, by the way. I think the fact that it's still running now amazes me. Literally like my first PC and it's, up and running. So when I did that, I finally completed it in 2019. And it was literally from there where I started venturing into streaming and been on many, many adventures along the way, which in a way I wish that I was able to discover sooner. Because I've just been utterly blown away, quite literally, just how wonderful this whole world of PC gaming in particular can be. Just the amount of opportunities that spring up and the wonderful people that you get the absolute chance to meet along the way, and just the utter enjoyment and satisfaction that you get out of this shoe. I don't think words can describe it in particular. I mean, just with the fact that how much it's helped to improve my confidence as well. Because obviously being quite shy before, if someone mentioned to me like a couple of years ago, I'd be sitting here with you now talking in an interview, I'd say no way. no way would I have had the courage and motivation to do it. But to my amazement, here I am now, sitting talking to you and doing this together. So no, I've it's really because of Jimmer and seeing his venture that it's the reason why I'm here now and continuing on with the content. And obviously, I have to say, a massive thank you to everyone who has subscribed to my channel and it was also a member of our wonderful little Discord clan, in particular our community, because without all of your support and encouragement along the way, I just don't know where I would be at this point. Hugh, I wouldn't know what to do with my life in particular, and it's all because of the help that I've had from everyone that's helped give me that energy, that spur to carry on with what I do and why I enjoy it so much. So the question that you asked earlier about why someone asked earlier if there's anything about sim racing that I dislike. I don't. Honestly, wholeheartedly, I enjoy everything that I do, Hugh. There's nothing bad that I could say about it at all.
Yeah. Oh, it's. I think we've that because Podium had asked the question as well. Has that helped your mental health by playing? By getting involved in sim racing and doing it? I think we can clearly say that's a definite yes, because it does. I think it gives you motivation. And an excitement again, and then it rebuilds your confidence especially as you're streaming, because you're talking to your community as you're racing, and that's a great way of building your confidence and realizing that you've got friends out there, which is a lovely thing to have. So you've got lots of good reasons to get out there and give it your best shot, which is always good and a definite really good aim to have. Now there was a question from Keith because he missed the start of the show, and it is. What was your first steering wheel that you had?
My first steering wheel, actually, it was back when after I built my gaming PC. Actually, I didn't own it for very long. It was a Logitech G920 that I owned. So I had the wheel, pedals, and shifter at the same time. So that only lasted a couple of months before it malfunctioned. Just stopped completely. Just wouldn't switch on, wouldn't fire up. So that was short, unfortunately. So I then had to try and save up some money again to start slowly build up all the equipment that I have now. So it was, it varies. Some people have had good fortune with Logitech. Theirs have lasted years and years, whereas mine has just literally went kaput after a couple of months.
That's really bad.
Great. Typical.
But it's supposed to be guaranteed. My power surge went. My power pack went.
Yeah,
and it was great. It was quite funny. One day I was driving and my wife came in, and she said she could see sparks coming from the power. And the way I'm such a bad DIY person. I hadn't put the wires in the wheel properly, and it had bent part of the thing. And all I done was I just really kind of flattened it out a bit, but it had actually gone right through, and you could see the exposed wire, and it started sparking. As I was driving, and I thought, this is fun. I'm getting the smoke as well, as I'm driving along. So no, it was something, but it was a good friend of mine in the community who actually gave me another. I couldn't find a power pack, and when I went onto the Logitech website, they basically said, "Oh, you're gonna have to get a new one." And I said, "No, it's just a power pack," and someone had a spare one and sent it to me, which was very kind. And so this is nearly 4 years old, so it's due an upgrade at some point soon.
Absolutely, but I reckon, Hugh, that might have been a hint. Your driving's that fast; your equipment can't keep up.
You think? No. Well, that's very kind. That's very kind indeed. Now they've been talking in the chat here about getting Scotty on the channel, and we need to get a date sorted out in the calendar, Scotty. I think possibly the 17th of June might be possible, because they all want Scotty to come in the chat.
Nice.
To come on the show, so we'll try and get that sorted as well. That should be fun, and then we've also had because we had Rue saying that what are the kind of special things that I can do on the show to be able to make my show even more unique, and then Rue said I could start singing just like Thea does, and I said, yeah, Thea's got a good voice, I don't, so I'll maybe stay away from the singing. I don't think that's going to help my sub count in any way or form.
No, so don't ask me to do a duet because mine isn't brilliant either. Tone deaf, more or less.
Yeah, I don't think people are wanting to watch me trying to attempt anything like that. But and you've had quite a few subs as well coming to your channel from guys who are watching. If it's the first time you're watching the show tonight, we've got lots of fantastic interviews, not just with Daniel here, but with people like Deadeye Delboy, with Darren Turner, with Mike Rogers Racing. We've had Super GT. We're yet to have Jimmy Broadbent and Scotty, but they'll all come. They'll come very soon, I'm sure. And
I'll keep my fingers crossed for you, Hugh.
That would be good. We will eventually get him. We're going to have Z28 Gaming in a week's time. So make sure you join us for that as well, because that will be a really good one. We've had people like Tidney, and we've had the Key, and we're hoping to try and get the Key on again soon as well. And we've had Basic Ollie, we've had Rory, who helped to really give us an official restart of the channel last year, and hopefully he'll be coming on soon. I've sent him an email, so if anyone's in touch with Rory, tell him, read his emails. He needs to come back to me to get that sorted out. But what would you like to say in finishing for the show tonight, Daniel? What would be your message to your community and your loyal fans there?
Oh, I haven't really thought about that, to be honest with you. But no, I think first obvious thing, it's been a bit of a rough journey sometimes with my sim racing adventure, and it's not all gone smoothly. But I think without all of you that I've had the wonderful opportunity to meet since I've started this venture, and who've also subscribed to my channel, also members of our Discord community as well. I honestly couldn't be where I am right now if it wasn't for each and every one of you. So I have to say a huge thank you to everyone who was supporting me all this time. I honestly wouldn't know where I'd be without you all. So thank you everybody regarding to that, and also no matter how frustrating it can be sometimes, just never give up on your ventures in sim racing. So the beauty is we've always got another chance to try, and no matter what your skill level is or your experience as well, sim racing isn't always about the winning. It's the journey that you have along the way. Yeah. So yeah, you should definitely enjoy each and every moment that you do have in this wonderful hobby that we get the opportunity to share with each other. So
yeah. Oh, that's great. Now stay on the line at the moment because I've got one or two quick things to say before we finish off. Now, Darren, for all you guys watching in the chat, you need to watch Darren's latest video. I watched it today. I was actually watching the live stream when a particular incident happened, and he said the video was like, "Is this the cleanest Belgian driver about on GT Sport?" I have never seen such horrific driving as what was on that video by that driver. I was watching it live, as I say, and you need to watch that video on Darren's channel. It's a fantastic video. It's very funny, and it just shows you, my goodness me, there's no such thing as racing etiquette in certain channels, certainly, or for certain drivers. I think that one's been thrown out of the window, but I really enjoyed watching that, so make sure you do it. And I've had a request as well that I need to get Nigel Mansell on the show, but that'll be good. I watched him win his title back in 1992 on TV. Yeah, and I had a big fan. I even had the Nigel Mansell racing gloves, the driving gloves. Oh, nice! And I think my mum said we might still have them in an old box in a cupboard somewhere at my old house. But and if I can find them, I'm going to have to get those and use them if they still fit for my sim racing. Like that would be fantastic. That would be amazing. Absolutely. Would we? We'd have to call you Nigel though from now on. Well, we instead of you, we have a mustache. Exactly. But no, that's the thing. And I would like to give a big thank you as well to everyone who's been in the Discord, who's recently joined our Discord channel. I know Richie's been putting in all the links, which is fantastic. Richie, you're working far harder than Mr. Rue Mar there, who's also an admin, and he's done nothing except call me names. So well done, Richie. But no, it's been fantastic to have you on the show, Daniel, and I hope it's been good fun. And we've had plenty of questions and plenty of new supporters, hopefully, for you too there tonight, who have subbed to your channel from seeing you here today, which has been really, really good. So we'll be driving again on Monday night. We'll be racing as Fat Man in a cheap sim for GT Sports. And then we'll be doing more interviews, as I say, with Z28 Gaming in a week's time. I mean, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show tonight, Daniel, and I wish you all the best for the rest of the year and your sim racing career as it goes forward, and for your community. I know that we'll be in touch, and hopefully we can do some collaborations as well.
Absolutely.
And that would be the thing.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that very much, Hugh. Now, but I've got to say a huge thank you for inviting me onto your brilliant show. I mean, admittedly, I don't really get much chance to watch other people's content, but when I get chance to watch yours, Hugh, it's always high quality, and you put a lot of hard work and effort into your channel indeed. So I definitely commend you for everything that you have done with regarding to your YouTube channel. And I wish you all the success and luck, and with persistence, with time, you all definitely get there. Your numbers will just grow further and further and further. Absolutely. But to keep up the great work here, you're doing a fantastic job with your channel at the moment, mate. You're doing brilliant work.
Thank you very much indeed. That's very, very kind. Now, do you know our motto? Do you want to finish the show with our motto?
Well, believe it or not, I think I was rehearsing this a little bit earlier on, so I'm going to try and remember it. I feel bad, be the worst guest ever if I forgot it. I'm trying to remember. I think it's if you drive fast and you try not to crash, you might end up winning the race. Am I right?
Yeah, at the first corner.
Yeah, at the first corner. I missed it.
It's as corny as ever. It's as corny as ever. That's the way.
Typical. I knew I missed a bit. Shoot.
Thank you to everyone watching. This will be out on a podcast later on, early next week. We'll have it on a podcast as well. But take care, everyone. Have a fantastic weekend. And remember, drive fast and try not to crash, and you'll win the race at the first corner. Take care and bye just now.
Thank you, everybody.